Hello, witches! This is Lady Bridget, and it's time for Reaching for the Moon, episode 56 for Samhain 2019.
Hello and welcome to Reaching for the Moon, presented by Everglades Moon Local Council, Florida chapter of Covenant of the Goddess. COG supports individual works by its covens, members, and local councils. It's a vibrant network of a myriad of Wiccan and witchy resources, religious support, friendships, service opportunities, and more. To find out more, visit our website, emlc.net, our Facebook page, facebook.com/EvergladesMoon, or Twitter, @EMLCTweets.
As I said, we're on Samhain 2019, episode 56, and this time we have an interview with Tara from the Crow Women, because she wrote a song called Samhain Night, and we're going to feature that in the middle of the interview. And then Pandy's Pagan Projects brings us making a scrying mirror, which is a fantastic project for Samhain, absolutely perfect. And we'll take it out with a song by Emerald Rose called The Wild Hunt, which is from their album Sunwise. So let's start the show.
This is Lady Bridget, and I'm here with Tara of the Crow Women, and we are at Merry Meet in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they are performing tomorrow night, and she has gracefully consented to do an interview for us. So, Tara, tell us about the Crow Women. What would you like us to know?
So the Crow Women is a Wiccan coven who sings, or a choir who practices Wicca. I'm not exactly sure which is primary. First? Right? No, the coven definitely started first, but song is such an important part of everything that we do, not only our rituals incorporating a lot of song, but we have several wonderful songwriters and singers as part of the group, and that just bubbles out in creativity into everything that we do.
That is fantastic, and that is very rare. Because I tried to form a bardic coven, and trust me, I got one or two coveners who can actually really sing, one of who is like opera sing. Yeah, it's rare to get a whole group of people together, but you guys are pretty special. But then also I did take some time and read your blog. Was Marilyn, was it, who wrote the tips on singing?
Yes.
Okay, so she was saying that she uses coaching and stuff, so I'm assuming she passes some of those tips on to the group?
Yeah, so everyone in the group has all of their own outside expressions of music that they tend to do. So Marilyn, for example, she is in at least three other choirs. And so she has lots of time to not only practice, but to be exposed to just a plethora of other musical genres that then we can learn from and pull from and kind of fuse together with our own style.
Oh, that's cool. And you all take turns writing songs?
I don't know that it's as much taking turns as everyone just throwing their creative ventures into a barrel, and then we shake them up, and whatever falls out is what comes into the album.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. So how is the songwriting process for you?
So I find that my favorite songs, I don't know that they're necessarily the best, but the ones that just seem to really resonate with me are the ones that I have no idea where they came from. So, for instance, we have one that I'm performing tomorrow night that is actually in honor of a coven member who passed away a couple of years ago, and the morning that I found out that she died, this song just came. I mean, just within half an hour, it was on the page, in the ukulele, in my voice. It just was not me.
Like it wrote itself.
Exactly. Yeah. It was like I just had to get out of the way and let the creative process happen, because I find if I try to interject too much or overanalyze what I'm doing, then it's clunkier than it is when just allowing the spirit to move me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But what about when the spirit is like quiet? Have you ever had times when it's like, I really want to write a song, but nothing's happening? Do you have any like techniques for pulling it forth?
I think it's kind of like any sort of writing. You just do it. And sometimes what comes out is just total filth and not something you want anyone to ever hear, and you never want to look at it or hear it again. But I think just the exercise, it's like building muscles.
Like practicing.
Almost, right. Yeah. And so just sitting down and doing it sometimes.
And don't worry about it until after.
Don't worry about it until after, because some of it's keepers, some of it's not. And definitely that's the nice thing about having an entire coven, is they will help you know what are the keepers.
But you have to be open to hearing when it's not.
Right.
Yeah. I know. Sometimes we're a little too attached to our babies, to our musical children, and we can't really tell that they're a little deformed, if you will.
Right.
But also I find sometimes when I share a song with somebody and I say to them, I'm kind of not great about this, and sometimes they'll have an idea, well, what if you worked it that way? And so input is really great.
Absolutely.
Especially when you have a whole coven of people who are so inclined.
Right. And other musical friends that'll just pick up an instrument and try to play it along with you and say, well, what if you changed this chord? Or, what if you made this chord a 7? Or, what if we tweaked this, and kind of play around? And then I think that joint give and take really builds into something.
Playing around with the timing, too, sometimes.
Right.
You take a song that's kind of meh, and then you jazz it up a little, and all of a sudden, wow, this is really good. Yeah. No, I get it. So you have written a song about Samhain.
I have.
And I want you to tell us about that.
So that was another one that I don't know exactly where it came from. I remember being in my backyard. I must have been doing some sort of yard work or going out to the shed or something. And I just remember this chorus just started going through my head. And it became one of those earworms that it just kept coming and coming. And I think that's another way that I know that a song is really working, is I don't have to record it and come back to it later. It just sticks. It just sticks in there and keeps coming back and eats at me. So this started out as an earworm, basically, that just kind of came, and then the verses kind of grew out of that chorus. It's a very simple tune, partially, it's a Samhain, and so almost kind of dirge-like meditative, but also was kind of developed to kind of follow the arc of a Samhain ritual. So kind of starting with the chime of midnight at Samhain, and midnight is calling, and the dead arrive. And now we start the celebration, and we call in Hecate, we call in the dark goddess. And so throughout the song, kind of building like a crow Samhain ritual might.
Nice.
That was the idea.
Good. Good. And we're going to actually play that song now.
Yay.
So
midnight calls, the witching hour, the veil grows thin, we raise our power. It's Samhain night, it's Samhain night, the clock strikes 12, we circle round, our spirits rise, our voices sound. It's Samhain night, it's Samhain night. Our circle cast, the dead arrive. From birth to death, from death to life. It's It's Samhain night. It's Samhain night. Our greatest fears we face as one. Power and strength, darkness undone. It's Samhain night. It's Samhain night. Come celebrate the mystery, shadow and mist through which we see. It's Samhain night. It's Samhain night. Queen Hecate, dark goddess crone, you light the path into the tomb. It's Samhain night. It's Samhain night. Midnight call.
The clock strikes 12.
The witching hour.
We circle round.
The veil grows thin.
Our spirits rise.
We raise our power.
Our voices sound.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
Our circle cast.
Our greatest fear.
The dead arise.
We face as one.
From birth to death.
Power and strength.
From death to life.
Darkness undone.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
Come celebrate
Queen Hecate,
the mystery,
dark goddess crone,
shadow and mist,
you light the path
through which we see
into the tomb.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
A new year comes, the old year gone, with dreams revealed, we carry on. It's Samhain night. It's Samhain night. It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night.
It's Samhain night. It's Samhain night.
What I also want to ask you about is, like, how did you guys find each other? I mean, there had to have been a kernel that started and then rippled out, is what I'm thinking, because this is not an everyday occurrence.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Crow Women has been together over 25 years.
Wow.
Now, I mean, for a coven, pretty amazing longevity.
Yes.
Right? I think I read somewhere that most, women's groups in particular, their average lifespan is 18 months. So.
Wow, that's short?
We've beat that by
a bit. Yeah.
Right?
A bit.
Well, for all the 25-year ones, there's the one that they meet once and decide this isn't going to work. So it all averages out. So I don't believe the ladies who initially started the Crow Women ever, how could they have ever imagined that we would end up where we are now?
True.
But several of the ladies just loved music and started singing together and started learning pagan chants and singing pagan chants together and recording pagan chants. And then little by little that grew into Elaine writing a couple of songs and then someone else throwing a song in. And so I think that music part kind of evolved organically, and then the sisterhood has just been this expansion of like-minded women. It's almost like we're a magnet for the right person, right? It's just we put that energy out there, and then the right person
You draw people to
shows
you.
up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of closed covens, it does take that right person to really fit the dynamic, to fit the personality, to fit the culture of the group. So, it's not to be, we're not trying to be exclusive. It's just knowing that we'll all be happier if this is the right match.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like a marriage.
Yeah.
When you're in a coven with somebody. Yeah, that's a pretty deep commitment.
Yeah, the personalities have to mesh. Yeah, or the magic doesn't quite work as well. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's kind of like you said, it's a magnet, and then the right people kind of show up, and then you work with them a little bit, and you know if this is going to work, this is not going to work. Do people kind of remove themselves if it's not going to work? Or do you kind of get the vibe and...
Both.
Yeah.
It happens lots of different ways. Sometimes it's just, we'll invite someone to come to a few rituals, and, they might come a couple of times, and then it just never quite meshes right. Sometimes we'll have someone kind of go further into the process, and, either they or we decide, this really probably isn't the best fit. Most of the time it seems to happen early on, when we're just kind of dating. By the time we're engaged, it tends to be a little bit more solid match.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah. But at this point, we don't audition people.
Yeah.
We did try, in fact, one of our last members, we kind of went a little bit different route and invited a couple of ladies to join the choir and just sing with us, and just, use that as a way to get to know some people. And one of the ladies was a perfect fit and is now a member of the coven, but that's a pretty new approach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm thinking your approach is probably going to evolve as the group continues to evolve. Is it difficult? I mean, from a performance point of view, right? I mean, I know just trying to schedule 5 people who can all show up on the same night to do Sabbath can sometimes be a big hassle. And you have how many in the group? There's am I right? 10?
Well, it depends on how you count, because we have 5 of us who now live in Durango that are circling together all the time, then Elaine coming up from Albuquerque on a very regular basis. But like for this concert, we have 3 ladies from really out of town, one from Wyoming, one from Denver, one from the San Francisco Bay Area. So literally the day before the concert ends up being the first time all of us are together. Right.
That's
so
very
kind of
difficult.
The core group has been working together for a long time. And of course there are just some songs that it's impossible to pull all of that together. So not everybody is singing on everything.
Right.
But I sometimes suspect maybe we could be using a little bit more technology.
I was just going to
Or
ask
practice over Zoom.
I was going to say, do you rehearse online?
We haven't. But I'm curious about that.
Sometimes there's a time delay.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't know if that would, you'd have to look at it. You'd have to really play with it a little bit, maybe over the phone, because the phone doesn't seem to have the same kind of time delay.
Right. It's worth exploring, though. Yeah, if we're going to be so spread out.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you guys all lived in the same area. So 5 of you do, and then the others are more spread out.
Correct.
Because I was trying to figure out, do you rehearse and do your rituals at the same time, or do you have a separate schedule?
Very separate schedule.
So there's a lot of scheduling going on.
There is an incredible amount of scheduling going on, and we're all already such busy people that, yes, scheduling is a nightmare.
Yeah, and you have to really be committed. It's not something you can just say, oh yeah, I'll come Thursday. Oh wait, Thursday doesn't work. Let's see, how about Saturday? Because, you have to have a regular rehearsal schedule, because magic and harmony does not happen without rehearsal. It isn't something that you can just walk into and, oh, boom, it's not like on the Sound of Music where they, she just teaches them do, re, mi on a set of steps and bingo, they're the Trap Family singers. No, there's a lot more.
There's a lot more to it, yes. And it's not pretty sometimes, even with everyone there, but just missing one person.
Yeah.
Sometimes can be incredible. Marilyn and I were laughing earlier. We had one rehearsal where we tried to do a trio. That's Marilyn and myself and our coven mate Deb, and Deb was out of town. And so we decided, we can just pretend like that was not a great idea. Just missing that one voice and that one part. It was like an entirely different song.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you definitely miss it. You have to have the whole dynamic together. I'm wondering, when you lay down tracks, this is a technical question, so I may not even put this in there. I'm just curious for me. When you lay down tracks and you're singing together, do you find you have to actually sing together when you lay down the track? Or are you able to have one person sing and have the next person sing and layer it over, have the next person sing and layer it over with the headset? Because I know with us, we found that when we were singing like a duet, and we are singing off each other's energies, we couldn't do it because the track sounded flat. They were kind of dead. When we sang together, then the song, the voices vibrated together. We weren't able to lay down all of our tracks separately.
right.
It was really different dynamic.
We do it differently for different songs. So we do some of both. There are some that they have to have that group energy. And then there are definitely some where we're using the magic of digital. And so, there will be several versions of the same person's voice just to kind of fill things in.
Right.
And then there are just some things where, because of the way we're producing it and mastering it, there is some vocal bleed from other people's microphones. And so you really want to isolate that one voice so you can do different things with it, so you can move it or tweak it. And so if you have other people's voices, just that little bit of bleed through, you can really hear.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends. We really lay it out before we get into the recording studio. How are we going to record this? Is it everybody? Is it these three people, and then we're going to layer these three people? Or we do an all melody, and then these two people are going to come back and lay the harmonies on top. So,
yeah, it's a process.
It's a roadmap.
Yeah.
A very complicated roadmap.
It's very different from performing live. I find live performance is so much more forgiving.
It is, yes, because that mistake, people are not hearing it in their ear over and over and over for years and years to come.
And you will hear it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing. You'll hear it. And it doesn't really matter if anybody else hears it, because you will hear it.
But live, you just gloss right over it, and if anybody did notice, you're on to the next thing. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's just something about the energy and the personalities of being live that's a little bit more forgiving.
Performance is definitely an exchange of energy. So you're getting the energy from the audience, and the audience is getting the energy from you, and so the two build together. So there's really a magical process that happens there that is impossible, really, to reproduce in the recording studio. So that's why the music has to be better, I guess. In the studio, you really have to work at it and tweak it and make it the best it can be, because you're missing that energy piece.
Yeah, the studio gives you nothing.
Yeah.
In fact, it sucks from you, I think.
This is true. Because I bet you don't feel anywhere near as exhausted after 2 hours of performing as you do after 2 hours of laying down vocal tracks.
That is absolutely correct.
Yeah. But that's kind of technical for our audience a little bit. But some people might.
Some people like the
some
background.
People might be interested. Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of people, especially with YouTube and the prevalence of everybody has a digital recorder on their phone. So anybody can sing into their phone. And there's that little app somebody was telling me about called GarageBand.
Oh, right.
And they were saying, oh, yeah, you can do all your songs on GarageBand. I haven't played with that yet, but it may happen. So there's so many people now that can actually put their own things out, and I don't really think of it more as a competition, but more as look at all the variety now, But still, there's room for every different kind of group and every different kind of music. And you guys are, I think you're pretty unique. The coven that sings together.
That is true, and stays together, which
25 years is pretty good. Are a lot of the original members still in the group? Or has it kind of waxed and waned?
It's definitely waxed and waned. We have a couple of the original members, definitely some that have been around since, mid to late 90s, and then some of us newcomers from the newer millennium, so.
But it's good that you can still attract new people, too. Yeah. Keeps the energy strong and kind of refreshes things when you get some new inspiration, Very, very cool. So you have a new album coming out.
We have a new
album.
It's
out now. Oh, good.
Yes. Good. Seasons, and it is a theme around the Wheel of the Year. And so it's several songs for each of the Sabbats.
Perfect.
And, some of them are a little bit more flexible, that you could use them in other ways, but definitely the theme is all around the year. And it was interesting as we were making the CD and kind of looking at what other songs are out there that are around different Sabbats. And some of them have a lot more than others.
Right.
Lunasa and Mabon are definitely lacking in the pagan pantheon of songs. So some of them have a lot more. Samhain probably was not one that was lacking, but that's the one that came. And sometimes you just don't argue with the goddess, especially a dark goddess. You just say, yes, ma'am.
Very true.
I will write that.
Very true. Yeah, I find it difficult to write a song for a theme. For me, I like to let the melody come or the lyrics come, or so it just comes. I can't really push. I don't think I've ever been able to sit down and go, oh, let me think now. I want to use this tune and I want to sing about this topic and just write it just doesn't gel somehow.
Well, our dirty little secret is we have way more songs than we've recorded, and so it was more looking at our list of what we have either written or in some stage of development and picking a theme out of those. So it wasn't necessarily, there were a few that were written specifically for the album, but it was more looking at, okay, we have these 40 songs and you can't put 40 songs on a CD, so which are we going to put together that makes sense as a theme? And seasons
that's awesome.
Arose.
But that sounds to me like you'll have more albums in the works in the future.
Oh, yes.
Because you have a lot more songs you couldn't fit on this one.
Yes. And that is, we are encouraging people to buy album 3 so that we can afford to do album 4 and 5 because we already have more songs than can fill a 4th album. And, the longer we wait, the more songs we write.
This sounds like a terrible problem to have.
Exactly.
Oh, no, it's great.
But then the great thing is then we get to pick the best ones for our audience. We have lots to choose from. And
do you ever come down to one person really likes one song and then somebody else goes, that song just doesn't do it for me?
I haven't noticed us doing that as much as kind of prioritizing. So, and maybe it's because of the theme, maybe it's, certain voices are going to fit that more than others. Definitely when we come down to, choosing which ones are going on the album or, even worse, which ones are going to go in a concert, because then we have 3 albums worth to choose from.
Yeah.
But Everybody Loves Everything. So it's not as much as that's a terrible song, we never want to do it. It's more prioritizing.
Well, I meant is there any kind of disagreements about, we want this song on the album or somebody else wants something else instead? Because you've only got a certain amount of room.
Exactly. Yes. We do have band meetings where we sit down and put all the songs out, and, sometimes we tally up a vote, sometimes we talk through them. Sometimes the decision isn't necessarily the most what's the most popular, but what's the most doable. So,
oh, true. Right. Because if you need the part of the person who's living in San Diego, that might be a bit of a problem.
Right. Yeah, so we do have to decide, okay, who of the cast of characters will fit into what we're wanting to do.
Do you ever exchange parts? Like, learn more than one part so you can fill in for somebody else in a...
Yes, and especially for the distance members. We all kind of have understudy parts.
Right, right. That makes sense.
And then, of course, we have people that move out of the area and we have to replace them, or, again, sometimes we have one person who has sung multiple parts on a song in the studio, and then and
that's fine in the studio, right?
Exactly. So figuring out, okay, who's going to be the second Tara on this,
right?
So and of course we all have kind of our different strengths and different tone and different voices, and so there are certain things that like I probably will never fill in for Marilyn because I'm super soprano, she's a tenor, so I'm just never going to have the same vocal quality as her, and so it would be a very different song, me singing her part.
Right.
But there's things that are
interchangeable,
much more interchangeable.
Mm-hmm. So that's got to make individual problems.
And sometimes those are the songs that we just figure out, it's a beautiful song, we would love to do it, and we just can't do it in this concert because we don't have the right staff to carry it off.
Right. And I imagine, like any other band, there's songs that you just retire because other ones have taken their place. And it's not that you don't like them anymore, it's just you can only have so much practice time.
We only have so much practice time. We definitely want to consider our audience's preferences. Merry Meet, we're definitely looking at, okay, what is a big group of Wiccan leaders going to be excited about? So sometimes we definitely cater it to the audience. We have a performance right after Merry Meet at a Unitarian Universalist church, and so really looking at, okay, what kind of fits their service, their theology, kind of what they're looking for. So sometimes it's what we really love and want to do, and sometimes it's what we feel like people want to hear.
Oh, that makes sense. So where else do you perform then? What other groups do you perform for?
Whoever asks us that we have the time and resources to do. I think that's one of the other barriers that we run up against is most of us are trying to juggle mundane jobs, mundane lives on top of this, that none of us, this is our sole gig. And so trying to figure out what's really reasonable for a group that, A, is a large group. It's not 2 or 3 of us trying to pack up and get somewhere.
Yeah, it's not like you can all fit in somebody's spare bedroom.
Right? That's what we figured out this weekend. We are spread hither and yon in Albuquerque.
So how would people get in touch with you?
So, one of the best ways to get us, we do have a website. It's pagansong.com. So getting on there, you can sign up for our blog. You can find out our contact information. We also have a Facebook page, Crow Women, spelled the regular way. You've probably seen that
I've seen a few different spellings.
We are pretty inconsistent with how we spell because we're crows. We think we could just do whatever we want to at any moment. But for the internet, it tends to work better if you have a consistent spelling. So for Facebook, we're just the mundane CROWWOMEN.
And people can like your Facebook page.
So people can like our Facebook page, see where we're going, what we're up to, see when we have new blog posts out.
And your blog is very cool.
Thank you.
Especially
we're
your
having
bunny.
Fun with it.
Your bunny's blog is very cool.
Who knew that a bunny could write? I mean, I just leave the computer out and it's magic.
And you get
literally.
That Earth perspective.
Definitely a perspective from much lower center of gravity.
Yeah. That was very entertaining. And that's at pagansong.com.
Yes.
Yes. And where can people buy your music?
So the best place to go get our music is CD Baby. So CD Baby is a great place for hosting independent artists. They are very supportive of their artists. Artists get a much better cut than places like Amazon, and they help us do all of our digital distribution. So we are fans of CD Baby. We are on CD Baby, so that's the best place right now if you're not at a concert or don't run into us on the street.
So you can't get the autographed part.
That is true.
Oh, and so you have 3 albums out. So we have
Crow Goddess,
mm-hmm.
Crow Magic, and then the new seasons. So Crow Goddess is the original. It's a lot of covers. It's a lot more traditional pagan chants, things you would hear around the fire. Crow Magic is all original work. It's a lot more performance, a lot more produced, not as many of the chants. And then Seasons, of course, is our new one and has all of the Sabbats represented. Crow Magic has more rites of passage. We have a coming of age song, we have a croning song, we have motherhood songs. So that's a good one to go to if you're looking for more rites of passage.
Yeah, and Crow Magic has a lot of chants on it that translate really well into using in your coven, into your ritual practice and stuff. Especially, if you have people that are new to the idea of singing and raising energy through song and raising energy through chanting. A lot of them I found were very easy to remember, and even give you time to breathe.
Wonderful, yes.
Some chants do not.
Always the case.
Yeah, I've learned a few, and they're like, you want me to grapevine step, you want me to dance, you want me to clap and sing, and I don't have a space to breathe. This isn't fair. Yeah.
And you'll notice on Seasons, we have added instrumentation. So we're not just an a cappella choir anymore. And I can tell that is a huge difference with that breathing, because when you're a cappella, if you're not singing, there's nothing. It's silence. It's like being on the radio. You don't want that dead space. Whereas if you have an instrument that can pick up a little bit of the slack, you can stop and breathe and then come back in.
Yeah. But it helps if you do rounds, because then you breathe, someone else is singing, and you get a little space there. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing the new album. I'm definitely going to pick that one up today, because I have to have more music for the podcast, and especially, your Samhain song. And I'm really excited to hear songs for all of the Sabbats, because like you said, some of them are very slim pickings. I mean, I can think of Imbolc is one. It's very difficult to find songs for. Star is kind of another one that, unless it's Peter Rabbit, it's, it's really not a whole lot out there for that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So everybody has to go to CD Baby and buy this album so we can get the 4th one and the 5th one and get it going. Absolutely.
Right? Or our heads are going to explode. I think that's the problem, is we have all of this just stuffed in our heads, and unless it goes someplace, we're going to explode.
Well, music is for sharing.
Right?
I mean, it's great if you want to sing in the shower, and I know some people, like my husband, I probably shouldn't say that out loud, whose singing should only be heard in the shower. No. But yeah, I mean, music is to be shared. That's the beauty of it. That's its magic. So yeah, the more you share, the better it is.
That's definitely our intent, this is a gift to the pagan community. More songs, more music, more energy, more inspiration. We hope that there are people out there who will hear what we're doing and kind of, like we have done, be inspired to write their own and create their own songs. So it's a little bit of a pay it forward.
Great. Excellent. Yeah, and if you want some tips on singing or songwriting, you should go to pagansong.com and read their blog, because they've got some of those on there as well. Is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners about your group, or anything else that you haven't covered yet?
I think the only thing I would want to share is we are so blessed by the people who are listening to our music, buying our music, coming to our concerts, supporting and encouraging us, because we wouldn't be doing this otherwise. If we made a first album and it tanked and nobody was really interested, we probably would have kept singing to ourselves, but put some of our energy elsewhere. But having all of the support and encouragement of our fans in the pagan community and Covenant of the Goddess and the Chamizo Local Council have just been such a blessing and have fed our music spirits for years.
Oh, it's so good to be part of that community.
It is.
It really is.
Gratitude.
It really is great. Well, thank you so much. I am very grateful for you doing this interview.
Well, thank you so much for including me. This is fun.
Oh, blessed be.
Blessed be.
Hi everyone, this is Alpandia, and it's time for another one of Pandy's Pagan Projects. As we head into Samhain, it's time to do a little bit of scrying. But what's a witch to do if you don't have a good scrying mirror? Luckily, this month we'll be making one. All you need to make an excellent scrying mirror is a picture frame, black paint, and a paintbrush. Or if you prefer, you can use black spray paint. And that's it. You could make a larger scrying mirror by using a clear glass plate, but you'd need to prop that up in some fashion. That's why I like picture frames. They have the stand already built in. First, you'll take the glass out of the picture frame. You want to clean it very well with glass cleaner. You don't want any streaks left on the glass before we start to paint. Now, take your paint and paint one side of the glass. This will create the reflective surface that you gaze into during your scrying sessions. I've used black enamel spray paint when I could paint outdoors where it's well ventilated with good effect, though you'll want to do that on a pretty not windy day because otherwise you'll get runs in your paint. I've also used glass paint that's specifically for glass, though sometimes that ends up being a little too transparent for a scrying mirror. This go around, I'm using plain black acrylic paint. I did water it down a little bit to make applying easier. You'll want to apply this in coats and make sure you make full strokes from one edge of your glass to the next. You do not want to leave any brush strokes on your glass. You want it to be as flat a piece of black as possible. You may find that one coat is fine. You might need 2 or 3 depending on how thick your paint ends up being and how the layers lay on top of each other. While your paint is drying, you can decide if you want to decorate your frame. You can leave it as is if you found a suitable great witchy frame, or you could paint it. Add runes and sigils to it. You could glue gems, beads, or other decorations to it. Just remember to test and make sure your frame can still stand up as you decorate it, especially if you're putting decorations along the bottom. After the paint on the glass has dried and your frame looks the way you want, place the glass back in the frame with the painted part facing the back. You want the not painted part facing forward. You'll be looking at that clear part of the glass, but it's the black that makes that mirror effect. Before you use your mirror, be sure to consecrate it, cleanse it, and charge it as you see fit. Anoint it with your favorite divination oil, and ready your favorite scrying incense for use when you're sitting down to work with it. So now the fun part, getting to use our scrying mirror. So first of all, you'll want to set it on a surface where you can look into it, but you cannot see your own reflection. This is why, again, picture frames work really well because they come with their own stand. Cast a circle if you feel moved to, or however you set up your sacred space. You can also light candles or turn on candles if you can't light them, and place them on either side of the mirror. If you do this, you'll want to make sure that you position the candles so you cannot see the candles in the surface of the mirror. Again, that surface should be completely black before you start. Allow yourself to relax, soften your gaze, and let your mind drift. And look into your mirror. You may experience actual visions in the mirror, or you may receive messages using your other senses. Make sure to journal about anything you see or receive during your scrying. When it's not in use, it's really best to keep your scrying mirror covered. And that's it. I'll be posting pictures of my scrying mirror on our website, emlc.net. I can't wait to see yours. Happy scrying and blessed be.
Thank you, Alpandia, for that wonderfully inspiring and well-timed project. Scrying mirrors are absolutely perfect for Samhain. A couple of things you also might want to do for your scrying mirror is you can incorporate herbs on the back when you paint. They will stick to the paint when it's drying, and then you can spray paint a couple of coats over them. The other thing you can also do is either paint or on a piece of black construction paper, write some sigils for either protection or to open up the veils. I would suggest you do some research. When we did ours, we used the pentagram. Some people used the Eye of Ra. Many people used planetary sigils. Some people went and found some sigils in Anariva's books. Something that was appropriate for opening the third eye, and also the reason I mentioned protection is to make sure that nothing comes through the mirror that you don't want to contend with. When you assemble the mirror, of course, you're going to put the sigils or the black construction paper in the back behind it, but with the sigils facing the glass part. So it's kind of like sealed, and then you put the back on it, so it's all sandwiched together. The other thing you can do with your scrying mirror is you can do a fluid condenser, which most people use mugwort, and you can add some herbs to that also, or some essential oils. But a lot of people use mugwort to wash and cleanse the glass on their mirror, and also a little mugwort tea about a half an hour before you scry to put you in the mood. Mugwort is very good for psychic divination. Of course, the best times to use a magical scrying mirror is at the dark moon, and your final charging should always be done in circle. You can pass the hands over the mirror surface, and you can hold the mirror with intent. You can charge the mirror with your personal energy, and then take the mirror outside and have it reflect the moon's light. Hold it so that the moon is on the mirror, and that is one of the best ways to charge a psychic mirror. As with any tool, the lunar charging is perfect, especially because the moon rules scrying and divination, and also especially because the moon reflects or mirrors the sun just as mirrors reflect the light. So the moon is basically a reflection of the sun's light, and that's one of the reasons why the moon rules scrying mirrors. And they are intrinsically linked to the moon. When you are using a scrying mirror, besides clearing your mind and paying attention to any images or thoughts or feelings that you have while you're doing it, also pay attention to your dreams. And because you may get messages in your dreams for the next couple of nights. Sometimes a scrying mirror will open the doors to your psychic vision, and that will cause dreams in the evening instead of seeing something directly at the time that you do it. When you are doing it for the first few times, I would give it at least a solid 10 to 20 minutes before you end. I wouldn't do it too long until you work up to it, because it can be very tiring. Anyway, I hope that extra information helps. And now we are going to hear a song from Emerald Rose called The Wild Hunt. This song is on their Sunwise album. Thanks for listening. Blessed be.
Lock the doors, bar the gates, crack your shutters for a glance, but keep your talisman at hand. The wild hunt rides tonight. air. The horn will sound, the hunt begins. The specter's howl will freeze your heart. The wild hunt rides tonight. See us ride on the whirling winds, called back from death, we shed our skins to hunt the souls of winter once again. Lightning cracks and those hounds bay, none shall bar the huntsman's way. Give the dead their due, or be their prey. Across the dusky moor, the heroes of a distant age, the wild hunt rides tonight. The peasants trod upon the road, life shall take a turn tonight. Will you perish, will you rule, the wild hunt rides tonight. See us ride on the whirling winds, called back from death, we've shed our skins to hunt the souls of winter once again. Lightning cracks and ghost hounds bay, none shall bar the huntsman's way. Give the dead their due, or be their prey. The huntsman, honor to the host, honor to the mystery that fills the sky with gold.